Thank God, straight zombie takeouts are still in style.
Hello and welcome to Zombie Takeout, the B-Movie and Cult Movie Show. I'm John.
And I'm Scotto.
And before we get to this week's movie, we've got some feedback from Bodo in reference to last week's review, Hardcore Henry. He said, at Zombie Takeout, wow, I was surprised that John liked Hardcore Henry. I was disappointed with Scott. What the hell? I'm turning 54 this past Saturday. I'm not quite sure how that works. Shameless birthday plug. And I thought it would be. I thought it would have been John being mad at the movie. First off, I said this on Twitter, but once again, happy belated birthday, Bodo.
Happy birthday.
And also, as I mentioned last time, years of watching Let's Plays prepared me. It was just in a long cutscene.
And I enjoyed most of it, but was just pissed off when he cryptid the fight scene at the end.
Mm-hmm. And some news. Nigel Bach, director of Bad Ben, has set up a GoFundMe page to raise money for the next installment of the series. And I think it's called Bad Ben Downloaded. That's at least the name on the GoFundMe page.
I'm trying to remember, did we do the second Bad Ben movie?
We've done the first Bad Ben and Bad
God.
Santa. And we did Bad Santa as one of the Halloween shorts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we haven't done any other.
Really need to get to the other Bad Ben then.
Yeah, we do. He said on the page that he can make it with what he has now, but it would be a lot easier if he made some computer upgrades.
Well,
and he has, a price list of, or actually, like, it looks like it's from a screenshot from the Apple Store of like what he wants, a fairly high-end Mac Mini and an airport backup. So he's taking a GoFundMe. He's doing a GoFundMe page. Link will be in the description. And with that out of the way, on to this week's movie, which is from 1980, Dressed to Kill. Of course, that brings us to the impromptu plot summary, sponsored by shower scenes, the perfect excuse for random nudity. Try one in your next film.
And also brought to you by Psychobabble, because sometimes a little bit of knowledge can be a very dangerous thing for an entire movie.
Oh, yeah. I was a psych major, and I actually started therapy a couple of months ago, so those therapy scenes were painful.
Did you do like a spit take, though, at the end of that last scene, though?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that was just like, what? Anyway. Not like oh my God, that came out of left field thing, but I felt like it was you points deducted and may God have mercy on your soul.
Yeah. I'm fully expecting you to rant about the ending.
I was like, maybe it was too harsh on Hardcore Henry about halfway through this thing.
Wow.
All right, so we're impromptu plot summary here. And by the way, we're just so bad at business that the only time we ask our listeners for money is to send it to someone else that's completely unrelated to us. Good point. But hey, we get to have funny ads in our
we have a store somewhere that we never talk about.
Oh yeah, we do. You could get zombie takeout, merch.
Check the sidebar on zombietakeout.com.
I forgot all about that. I should get some. Anyway. Anyway, so we have a shrink. Well, actually, we start off with a woman who is, where would she be in this movie?
Bear in mind, this is a Brian De Palma movie.
Let me think. What could she possibly be doing? Oh, I know. She's in the shower. And, her husband is just, oblivious to her. And just shaving, of course, with everybody uses those straight fucking razors back in 1980. I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, he's oblivious to her. He's not giving it to her good enough. And so she's, of course, seeking the help of a shrink, because that's why people seek the help of a shrink, I guess. I don't know.
Well, in some cases, but before that, the shower scene does get kind of interesting.
She fantasizes about being raped in the shower.
Yes.
Now, was it being by him, by her husband, or by somebody
I
else?
wasn't sure about that.
All the dudes look very similar in this movie, by the way.
Well, it is 1980, so we're still kind of on Planet 70s.
Right. But like the dude in the museum, the
Yeah,
husband, they could have all been played by the same
right.
guy for all I
Yeah.
know.
Michael Caine is the only one who was at all distinct.
And even him, he kind of, I mean, if he,
Well, yeah, he was very much the 70s guy.
right, I mean, he had very similar hairstyle. I think he just didn't wear sunglasses like the dude in the museum, which,
Right, yeah.
who the fuck wears sunglasses in a museum to check out art, by the way?
Hmm.
Any, anyway.
Maybe they were one of those, ones that change when you come inside and they were just taking a while.
This was like 30 years before those were invented, though. But so she goes to the shrink. Um, she tries to seduce the shrink. The shrink, of course, resists, and so she leaves. And that's when she gets to the museum, and this ridiculously long, drawn out scene that has absolutely zero bearing on the plot takes place.
It just
And
puts her in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's literally all it does.
and I don't know about you, but it was pretty obvious to figure out who the killer was before even anybody was killed
I
within the
didn't pick
first
up on
reel
it.
of the fucking
Okay.
movie.
I'm curious what your signs were because I didn't pick up on it. But continue.
I just did. It was like watching that old episode of Matlock with, oh, and here's like, the celebrity, the B-list celebrity or whatever is
Oh
on
yeah.
the guest star. You're like, I wonder who the murderer is. Uh, so, um, yes, she has this ridiculous cat and mouse game with this dude at the museum who they wind up, of course, fucking in a cab and then back at his place. And then there's an even another long drawn out scene about how embarrassing this is, and how what kind of note should I leave him, kind of thing, and just all this nonsense. Because she, well, spoiler alert, winds up getting killed right away. Which,
Not right away. That was like a half hour into the movie,
oh,
after
Jesus.
about 20 minutes of silence.
It felt like an eternity, though, honestly. But yeah, it felt like a good hour and a half. But yeah, you're right. It was only a half hour into this that she got killed, and you do see that it is um, obviously a dude in drag killing her, and right. So the person that, of course, who I thought was put into the best performance of this movie, or at least the most captivating performance, because all the actors are doing what they can with it. But the one who I thought who stands out above them, of course, Mr. Dennis Franz,
Absolutely. The only good part of the movie was his scenes.
as
Well,
this detective who just could give a fuck less about anything.
mhm.
And
It's Dennis Franz being Dennis Franz, but in this movie, it was so refreshing.
right, it was because all the other dudes just looked alike almost, except for maybe the son who was this
Yeah,
the
computer.
whiz kid. It was just fuck. Which all of that, I thought of the phrase "Mr. Wizard" before it was even spoken too. I
Oh,
was
yeah,
like,
of
this
course.
is just. My notes actually say, "Holy." Like this Mr. Wizard stuff is annoying, and then after that, holy shit, she actually used Mr. Wizard.
Well, it's not exactly an obscure reference, especially in 1980.
Right. So that there was a prostitute that witnessed the murder, or at least was at the tail end of it, and
And was
almost saved her.
conveniently handed the murder weapon.
Yes, gets handed the murder weapon. Interesting. And of course the detective leans on her to solve the crime for him,
Yeah.
which I don't understand how that works. And this is so just convoluted. You can tell how
Yeah, she ends up
some of
running
this.
from this gang and running from the killer.
Right, she runs from a gang and a killer at the same time, and
Teams up
The
with the son to try to solve the murder.
She starts hitting on the son like immediately, of course, even like, "Oh, your mom just died. Let me start hitting on you now." Um, it was just, I, you know what? The phrase that comes to mind with this movie, I think of an old Bloodhound Gang lyric, is as deep as the plot of an amateur gay porn.
Yep.
Uh,
There's a bit at the end of the murder, when after Angie Dickinson's character gets killed, and you see her hand kind of sticking out of the elevator, all bloody, and the
yeah.
elevator door is just repeatedly closing on it. That was emblematic of my feelings about the movie.
Or was he like he was still in the elevator with her?
I
Wasn't he
think he
killing
may
her?
have been, yeah.
He was killing her as the door was closing because they were like in the basement, and the prostitute somehow misses it. And but anyway, they they do the whole Scooby Doo thing and reveal who it is that the killer is. But the detective had been trailing her all along, just using her as bait. And oh, what fun times they had!
Mhm.
And hilarity ensues.
Yeah. And the movie starts off with this long, protracted bit of music over the credits that is like a bargain basement version of the theme from A Summer's Place
Yeah,
that keeps playing throughout the movie, just making it all the more intolerable.
yeah.
And then it's a shower scene with some very unexpected close ups until I remembered that it's a De Palma movie. That led right into a sex scene. Again, De Palma. And I'm reasonably sure that Napoleon didn't invent the pastry Napoleon. Dickinson character claims that at one point in the movie.
Yeah, I took that with a grain of salt.
Well, I actually did look it up. The history of the dish is unknown, is kind of unknown,
I'm a
but
fan of Napoleon's.
it existed. It existed before the military, the general Napoleon.
Okay.
So yeah, it was he did not invent it. Now on to the therapy scenes because both patients end up hitting on him.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah they do.
and Nancy Allen's characters both end up hitting on him, and he admits that he's attracted to both of them. And the only reason he doesn't sleep, well, he says he doesn't sleep with them because they're his patients and because he's married. But admitting the attraction is just incredibly unprofessional.
Who
So
knows what the therapy was like back
a
in the day?
patient says that you steer clear, you divert, you do
Yeah,
anything you can to avoid that.
I would think that you would have to go to another doctor then.
Well, yeah, if that is said, then yes, you should. If the doctor says they find you attractive, yes, you should probably find
Well,
another
I was
therapist.
thinking if the patient finds the doctor
Well,
attractive, they should have to go to
there's,
another doctor.
I mean, there's transference, which is fairly common. You can work through that,
Hmm.
but don't expect anything. Anyway, now on to the museum scene
Oh my
and the
god.
doing 10 minutes without any dialogue. I timed it.
And I mean, I get it. I get what he was trying to do there, but who gives a fuck about her trying to pick up this dude in a museum?
Yeah,
It was just the most nonsensical thing you could draw upon.
and a lot of focus on this photo of a gorilla laying down. And really, the only significant dialogue in the first half hour of the movie is the therapy scene.
There was also a cool shot of the World Trade Center at 23 and a half minutes. I don't know if you noticed that.
No, but okay.
Well,
Well, I should have.
it's like a street scene, and then the two towers are just like over the
Oh,
like
nice.
in the back over everything
Hmm.
else because they were like the tallest thing in
But
the area.
by the time she woke up at his place and started debating over the notes, and we get that ridiculous shot of her kind of smiling listlessly, kind of, but not listlessly, but smiling kind of, romantically with the shot of her panties in the cab split
Yeah.
screen. By that point, I was just really looking forward to her murder. I knew she was going to buy it. I was just looking forward to it. I wasn't sure when. Conveniently, it was in the next scene. But I did get a kick out of her going through his drawers and seeing the medical report, or from the doctor saying that he has syphilis and gonorrhea.
Right. Just leaving that note lying around.
But the silence was just unbearable.
You know what? I would think that would be a good thing if you had
Mhm.
like an actual dramatic thing going on,
Oh yeah,
like a
that's what
life or death
it
situation.
can be played well,
Like
but this movie did not do it.
if there, yeah, like I said, if there was a life or death situation at play and you had this silence and it would be really an intense thing, but about the social embarrassment of hitting on a dude or oh, I left my
And
panties in the taxi.
or the gag for a big chunk of it is she drops a glove in when she's sitting next to him
Right,
in the museum. He picks it up. She walks off. He comes up behind her, taps her on the shoulder with the glove to kind of say, you dropped this. She just runs off, scared, goes back to where she left it, and then is walking around the museum for like what felt like 5 minutes straight, looking for it
right.
until she walks out and sees his cab. And then rando guy grabs her and they fuck in the cab.
Just unbearable. Just an unbearable waste of time and adds absolutely zero to the film.
And but it leads to the best parts of the film, her murder. Brian De Palma has said that the murder in the elevator is the best thing he's ever filmed.
Now, really, I mean, it kind of pisses me off because it is the old horror cliche
It is.
that oh, she's morally strayed,
Right.
so we have to punish her. And having the venereal disease and the embarrassment isn't enough. She needs to be murdered.
And let's the moral bullshit in this movie. Let's get Michael Caine's character, the therapist, isn't just a guy in drag. He's trans.
Right.
So there's someone who's trans is the killer because they're trans.
Right.
Largely,
That
that was the explanation. He's trans, so he's the killer.
exactly. I just my jaw dropped when that was the explanation
Mhm.
that he was trans, and they pretty much made it sound like every trans person had a personality disorder of some sort,
Yeah,
of the masculine and versus the feminine, and I was like,
and
ugh.
and he's institutionalized. Even though he's a therapist, he's institutionalized. I'm not sure how that works.
I don't know either, but I mean, you'd imagine he's going to be institutionalized if he committed murder.
Well, no, but wasn't he? I thought he was institutionalized to begin with, or was he just a patient of that other doctor?
Yeah, he was a patient of that other doctor, but he
Okay,
wasn't
okay,
institutionalized
okay,
until he
okay.
actually committed murder.
All right.
And then that fantasy sequence at the end is just, oh my
Yeah,
god,
and
it's
things the
more
movie
like
says about the mentally ill. It's I don't even want to get started on. But on to the only good part. Well, one of the very few good parts of the movie, the best part of the movie, Dennis Franz. A wonderful surprise to see him in because I think I'd seen this movie many years ago, but I'd totally forgotten most of it. So I was very happy to see Dennis Franz show up, just being Dennis Franz.
just being this asshole.
Really, the only thoroughly enjoyable part of the movie. Um, I did enjoy the split screen phone calls with Nancy Allen's character and Dr. Elliot, Michael Gaine's character. They're both on the phone and they kind of split screen it, kind of like what he did in Sisters,
Yeah.
De Palma. And they both end up watching Donahue interviewing a trans woman.
And I was wondering, I mean, he'd at least seen this thing of Donahue, so did he was he just mocking the Donahue thing then? I mean,
I have no idea. I get the impression it just seemed irrelevant, so I put it in there.
right, like it's just shocking that somebody would make a film about something
Mm.
they knew so little about.
Yeah. Even the title of the film is transphobic. Dressed
Yeah,
to Kill.
yeah,
As if it's just clothes you're put on, like as if he was just a crossdresser.
right.
But they go out of their way to say he's trans.
I mean, at least I think it was Roger Ebert that said that last scene in Psycho is one of the worst scenes in cinematic
Yeah,
history, where
yeah.
they sit down and spoon feed
Straight dialogue, straight
all of it.
exposition. Yeah,
But at least, if I'm remembering right, there at least was actual validity to
yeah.
what they were
It
saying.
all worked, kind
He
of.
was actually talking about personality
Right.
disorders, and it was, I mean, it was way ahead of its time.
Mm.
And this is like, what, 15 years later?
Yeah,
And
and it's just transphobic bullshit.
it might as well have been the last speech at Billy Madison.
Yeah,
It was really
exactly.
that bad.
Yeah, yeah.
It was just that stupid.
Incidentally, in when an interview suggested to Sir Alfred Hitchcock that Dressed to Kill was meant to be an homage to him, Hitchcock replied, "You mean fromage."
Yeah, I was trying to look up to see what his opinion of this was. He died the year this
Yeah.
came out, though, so I
Uh,
guess he did. I guess
yeah.
he did see it.
But, I mean, I checked multiple sources for that quote, and it came up. So I'm gonna guess it's legit.
Oh, that's great.
And that's the only time I've probably pronounced that word homage correctly on this show. Because I had to have it rhyme. You mean fromage? So
Uh,
yeah, I will say the chase through the subway cars was interesting. She ends up surrounded by this gang who are about to rape her. She gets away, gets onto a subway car. The killer and the gang both end up on the car.
I was hoping the killer and the gang were going to go at it.
Yeah, that would have been fun.
Yeah, I mean, but this whole thing of her getting in with the gang, it kind of reminded me of Hardcore Henry, actually, because it was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like this absurd, like, oh, now they're going to fight them too, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was just as realistic.
And the bit of exposition at the end is followed up by this lecture about being transgender, which was also just crowbarred in. It's like a bit more accurate than the explanation, but and then Liz agrees to stay with Peter for a while,
Oh yeah.
which again makes no sense.
Oh,
Because
I
I didn't
mean,
get the impression she was hitting on him. She was, because he's well, they don't give his age. He's a teenager, but
I thought they were going to get it on like right away, honestly. But I mean, it seems like they waited till like later, because like, wait, when she woke up from the dream, they were in bed together, weren't they?
were they? I didn't get that. I didn't notice.
I thought they were.
Oh, it could have been. Huh. Incidentally, I'm surprised you're not ranting that whole bit turned out to be a dream. I mean, not the entire movie, but the bit
Well,
at the end.
right, and yeah, that was where to begin on that. I mean, the dream itself was just so shitty. It was like this, yeah, and they're just gonna put him in
Very
some
cliche
institution where he
asylum.
can just get out anyway and go and do whatever he wants, and it's all dark and people are just leering at stuff and cheering him on,
Right.
and then yeah, to be, it was all just a dream sort of thing on top of that, which is just one of the worst sins you could do in a movie.
Yeah. Nancy Allen earned both a Golden Globe nomination for Best New Star and a Razzie nomination.
Well, every actor in this, I can't really say anything bad about. Honestly,
Angie Dickin. But
I
I really can't compare it to other things she's done because it's been a long time. But
none of the
she,
performances I thought were that bad. I think they just had real shit script to
well,
work with. I mean, I'll give you the elevator scene in this. The elevator scene is fucking disturbing as hell.
yeah. But it's still very psycho. It's still, replace the shower curtain with the elevator door, and it's the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, he was even trying to knock the psycho music off,
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
It's just embarrassing.
Yeah. And fortunately, no sequels, and I don't really see a remake happening these days. The remake is not going to happen because it's
Like,
just too transphobic to be done these days.
well, right. I guess if they did a remake, it would be grounded in reality. I don't know, like,
Just let
but
it go.
just yeah, this.
On the brains.
Oh yeah, on the brains. We're already there.
Yeah, it's not fast. I'm giving it one brain for Dennis Franz, half a brain for Nancy Allen shower scene, 1.5.
I mean, it's the elevator scene. You got some decent performances. You've got some nice eye candy in there, and however, though, and to be fair, since I did remove a brain for Hardcore Harry ripping off one scene,
Uh-huh.
I've got to take something off for this just complete rip-off of Hitchcock.
Right.
I mean, Hitchcock was still alive while he was filming this, so it's not like this is some tribute to him.
Yeah.
This is just, I mean, this is worse than Sisters. You know, Sisters had elements of Hitchcock
Yeah, I
movies that,
kind of like Sisters. I mean, the big twist at the end made it for me.
right, but there still seemed like an original thing going on there.
Mhm.
Where this, it was all just, it was almost a remake of Psycho, the
Yeah.
shot for shot remake almost. And so yeah, I'm going One Brain.
All right, and what have we learned?
That Angie Dickinson and Nancy Allen could be the only reasons they let De Palma keep making films after this.
Yeah, and I learned that silence isn't always golden.
I mean, I liked Scarface and the
Uh,
Untouchables, and so it's good that they did, but wow.
Incidentally, a bit of trivia that I remember didn't have it in my notes. Sean Connery was going to play Dr. Elliot at first, but he couldn't because of other commitments.
Nor wanted to dress in drag,
No,
maybe?
he was very excited for the role, but
Really?
he was really into it. He just had other commitments come up, so he couldn't do it. And Michael Caine was cast.
But yeah, I mean, at first I thought it was obvious just about the guest star thing, and then when they did the scene of "let's go to my office so he can get in touch with her," you know, that when he was talking to the psychiatrist, I was kind of
Okay,
like,
yeah.
"Yeah, I know what's going on here."
I didn't see it coming. I think that reveal was again one of the few interesting parts of the movie. Anyway, that's it for Just to Kill, thankfully. Until
Yeah.
next time, when we'll be reviewing Demolition Man. I have fond memories of the movie, so I think I might enjoy it. You've been very vocal about not enjoying it at all.
After this one though.
Might be a step up, yeah.
Yeah.
Until then, always remember, never forget, wherever you go in life, there
There
you
you
are.
are.